Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So in today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the logistics of a wedding and something that is not as easy as it would seem to be, and that is the day of wedding timeline. I don't have a wedding planner. I had one, but I don't have one anymore, and so it's been up to me, ooh, my lipstick. It's been up to me to kind of create the timeline, and at first the task seemed extremely overwhelming. I wasn't even sure where to begin. I didn't know how long each specific event took to even put into a timeline, and so I kind of went at it blind, and I did it, and I wanted to just share how I did it for those brides who are having to do it themselves. And I'm so sorry, the dogs are barking and playing on the sofa, so if you can hear them wrestling, I'm sorry. But anyways, I just wanted to share this information with any of you who are doing it yourself and don't have a planner doing it for you, because it's actually not that complicated. And I just thought that I would share in how I did it. So if you are interested in learning about how to do your own day of timeline, then I invite you to keep on watching in this video. So when it came to doing my timeline, I work with Excel a lot for work, and I just find that it's a really easy program to create, some sort of spreadsheet, or in this case, a timeline. Oh, sorry, my leg's asleep. By yourself. So I just opened up a plain document on Excel. And what I did, I have mine here so I can show you. And what I did was I just put all of the hours within the day in 15-minute intervals. So I started with 7 in the morning and I went all the way until midnight, and I created a time. So this line here is for the time. Then this is for bridal party and family. This is a notes tab, this is a vendors tab, and then this is a vendors note tab. So all of these tabs go all the way across, and then from 7 a.m. until midnight, all the way down here at the bottom in 15-minute intervals is how I started my timeline. And so then what I did was I started to insert all of the big items that had set times. For example, my ceremony. So my ceremony starts at 2 o'clock. However, we have to be at the church for 1 o'clock. So I went into 1 o'clock and I said, okay, bridal party must be at church, and that's for 1 o'clock. And then at 2 o'clock, I put ceremony start time, because that's what time the ceremony starts. And then I put on there invitation time as well, because I am Hispanic, and it is no secret that many people in my family, in a very polite way, are always late. And so my invitation time is actually earlier than the actual start time, because then hopefully everyone will be there on time. We will see. So back to the timeline, I did put on here the invitation time as well as the ceremony start time. And that's what gave me my basis of where I was gonna start. And then from there, I started doing the morning, and then I worked way through the rest of the evening of the wedding, I'm sorry. So I spoke to my vendors, and I asked each of them, how much time do you need for setup? And then when we did contracts, I already knew how much time I had hired them for. So for example, my photographer. We have my photographer for 10 hours and he doesn't need any setup time. So I said, all right, so if I got 10 hours, I want him to cover from this to this. So what is gonna give me the most coverage of the events that I want my photographer to be able to photograph within 10 hours? And then I put those times on the timeline. So I have my photographer starting at 11 a.m., which will be at the time where hair and makeup is basically coming to an end. People will be comfortable in front of the camera because they're not gonna either have nothing on or they will already be done at that point. And he'll also be there with enough time to take photos of us still in our little outfits, getting ready, doing a toast, and then getting ready. All the way through till the exit when we leave the reception, but he will not be a part of the after party. And that's fine with me. I don't think I want documentation of the after party, if I'm totally honest. I think it's fine. Once the reception ends, then we are good to go with documentation, I'd say. The rest can just be memories that we hold on to. So then the next vendor was my videographer. Now my videographer, very similar to my photographer, doesn't need necessarily setup time. And we have him for 12 hours. So the same idea as the photographer, what do I want him to document within that 12-hour period? And I put it onto the timeline. Now, getting back into the people and timeline for the people, I contacted my hair and makeup artist and I asked them, okay, how much time do you need for hair per person and then for makeup per person, because they're two separate vendors. And they gave me the amount of time that they need per person. And then I did the calculations of, okay, well, I have this many girls that need hair and makeup done. This is how long it takes per girl. So our day starts really early. Our day is gonna start for 8 a.m. Hair and makeup begins because we have to be at the church for 1 o'clock. So 8 to 12:30 when we have to leave is not that much time to get everyone ready, hair, makeup, and dressed. So we will have a breakfast starting for 7:30 and then hair and makeup will start at 8 o'clock. And so the morning is pretty much done at that point. The guys, they don't take as long to get ready and they don't have as much pampering to do, so their morning will start a little bit later, probably around 10 o'clock, and we'll kind of go from there. So now ceremony has started, and I know because my church told us that our ceremony will be for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes because we are having a full Catholic Mass. So back to the timeline, I put ceremony end time. And so now we're at 3:15. So morning is covered, ceremony time is covered, and we're now finishing for 3:15. I then had to go ahead and schedule cocktail hour, which will be at the reception venue. So after the ceremony, guests that are at the wedding that are not in the bridal party or in our immediate family will then make their way over to cocktail hour at the reception venue. And the bridal party and our immediate family would stay at the church to do some formal photos right after the ceremony. We have our cocktail hour scheduled for an hour. Actually, it's like an hour and 15 minutes. Because people will have to get there. They kind of take some time getting there. Our venues are not far from each other, but they're not in the exact same building or anything, so they'll have to drive to the reception venue. So we have cocktail hour for an hour and 15 minutes, and that will give the bridal party, the family, and myself and Justin time to do our formal photos. Then we will have a set dinner time. So there's a 15-minute leeway for guests to find their seats before dinner is served. Now, something a little different that we are doing at our wedding that maybe isn't so traditional for weddings is we are having our dinner and our dance reception, if you will, in two separate spaces of the venue. If you watched my venue video, then it'll make sense. If not, I will link it in an iCard up here so that you can watch it. But our venue is this huge space, and we wanted to take advantage of all the different rooms that it offered. So our dinner and our dancing reception space are two separate spaces. So traditionally at weddings, guests will find their seats, they'll do the bridal party entrance, and then you go into like first dance, father-daughter dance, mother-son dance, etc. Well, we're actually not doing that. So we will enter into like the last 15 minutes of cocktail hour, and then we will sit with our guests and have dinner in the dinner room with our guests. There's not going to be any big hurrah yet about us arriving, so that's a little bit different. But back to the timeline part of it, we will then have dinner with our guests and then make our way into the reception room after dinner. Sorry, my nose is itchy. I'm just a mess today, aren't I? But yes, then we'll make our way into the reception room, and at that point, we will have the announcement of the bridal party and then go into formal dances, etc. Something that the coordinator at our venue pointed out, which was a really good tip, which I would like to share, is when you're doing your timeline, just write down all of the events from the beginning to the end and then time those out. And once you time those out, everything else just kind of falls into place. And what he meant by time them out was more of put them in the order of how you want them to go. There's no right or wrong way for the layout of a reception to go. There's more traditional and then non-traditional ways, but nothing is right or wrong. So that's what I did, and I decided, okay, so we're gonna have, the formal dances, we're gonna do an anniversary dance, we are gonna do the garter and the bouquet toss, we have to cut the cake. So I wrote all of these activities down that we had to do, and then I just organized them in a way that kind of broke up the reception. You have to think that you have, in our case at least, we have 3.5 hours of a reception of just dancing and drinking, so you kind of want to break it up a little bit. So I decided to break it up into two parts. So in the first part of the reception, we're going to have the entrance of the bridal party, your more formal dances, and we're also going to do the dollar dance at that point. The dollar dance is a Cuban tradition. I didn't believe it at first, but I did look it up, and it is true. And so that's just a little nod to my my heritage, and something that, although I do think it's a little awkward, I can respect the tradition of it. And so we were happy to do that. So we kind of linked all of those dances within the first section, and then after that, it's open dance floor for a little while. I want to say, let me look at my timeline. We have open dance floor for about an hour. I also, for the formal dances, had our DJ cut all of the songs down to 2 minutes so that I could time it a little bit better, but also because no one wants to sit there and watch you sway for 4, 5, 6 minutes, depending on how long the song is. So we cut all of the formal dance songs down to 2 minutes, and then the dollar dance will be for about, I want to say it's like 7 minutes. Probably probably a blade of grass blew in the wind, because that's how my dogs are. Anyways, I apologize. So that's the first section. And then the second section after that will be when we cut the cake, do the garter and the bouquet toss, and then we will also do the anniversary dance in that portion as well. So that whole thing will be about 20 minutes beginning to end, 25 minutes, and then again open dance floor until the end of the reception. And really at that point, we chose a last song, which our DJ will take care of, and then everyone will line up for our exit. We are doing the sparkler exit from the venue, and then we will all head over to our after party. We are having an after party at an Irish pub. That is a nod to my fiance, and I guess us. We just love Irish pubs. That's our vibe. That's what we like to do for date nights, is go down to the pub and have a nice brew. So we will do that with our family and friends as a final cheers to this new step in our lives together as husband and wife. So that is my timeline. My advice for you would just be to take your time, plan it out, talk with your vendors, and you can do it. You don't need anybody to do it for you. No one knows how you want your day to go more than you anyways. So just plan, you can handle it. You can plan it yourself. And then this is something that I will have many copies of to give to all of the vendors, as well as my day of coordinator at the reception venue, who will be in charge of all of this stuff. So yeah, I hope that was at least a bit insightful. Every wedding is different and every timeline is gonna be different, but just know that you can do it and it's not as hard as it may seem. The best thing to do is just start with your lists of all of your events and talk with your vendors to see how much time they need, and then your contracts will tell you how long you have their services for. And once you start with the big stuff, everything else will just fall into place. I swear it's so much easier than you may think. So if you're in this boat, if you're in the final stages of planning a wedding to where you're working on your timeline, I am with you. I support you. You can do it. I know it can be a little stressful, but it's fun. And no matter what, if you're 5 minutes late, if you're 5 minutes early, it's going to be the best day ever. So just keep that in mind. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.